Hi everyone, today we did get a big dip here pre-market, but rallied all the way back into the trading range, back above the trend lines. Momentum's fading a little bit. This is starting to look a little bit weaker with that high, lower high, potentially lower high here. So continuing to watch this structure potentially change, low, lower low here. But let's take a quick look at the charts as we head into the weekend. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. In news today, we got more government shutdown. The government shutdown continues to seem like it's going to last forever at this point. Democrats say they do not trust Donald Trump on a major negotiating obstacle, and because of that, basically no negotiations are happening, which is kind of surprising here. From what I can tell, the Democrats are still seeking that funding for Obamacare, which is kind of centered around the idea of potentially funding healthcare for illegal immigrants. I haven't really seen anything outside of that. You can see here premium tax credits for the Affordable Care Act, which are set to expire this year, which would be a big blow to that legislation. It'll be interesting to see if we get any other talking points or what those are specifically about. It would be nice to see some detail out of this, but so far no deal and really no negotiations. Moving over to fear and greed, up to a 27 from a 23, very slight step up. A little bit of consolidation, we've been talking about it. Fear on momentum, strength, no movement, breadth. We'll see if we've bottomed out on this. It was down yesterday, still extreme fear. Put call ratio continues to elevate, getting above this high here. Got a low, kind of higher low structure. Think this is probably going to head a little bit higher there. Volatility did come down, so that's interesting. And then safe haven demand, still extreme fear. Junk bond demand, still extreme fear. So most metrics still signaling fear or extreme fear, but it is starting to come up just a little bit. Moving over to the charts here, you can see it was up about 0.5% off of this trend structure here. The gap down was quite far, but then we rallied back pretty much all session, holding the structure. Needs to hold this structure if it's going to stay bullish. So far so good on that. We're below the 21 in the 9 EMA here. We'll see if it sells off from there Monday. Hopefully we just kind of hold structure and start to push towards that previous high. That is the bullish thesis and still possibly intact. But if this structure here breaks and that 55 breaks, then you're looking for 635. Moving over to the Tasty charts here, you can see that high, lower high structure. Potentially we are back above all the EMAs and SMAs, back into bullish conditions after that sell here pretty much overnight into that low and then the rally out here. Good volume on the buy up, momentum swinging back to bullish there briefly. We'll see if we can get that continuation here. Of course, it's only bullish on all the short time frames, still very much bearish on the medium to long term here. You can see that trailing stop did step down a little bit, 667.52. If we can get above this previous high here, that is going to be bullish, and then you're looking for the upper band, but for now that has not happened. Moving over to the NASDAQ, basically the same thesis, but it did hold up a little bit better right at this low here. Hit that low and then bounced through the session, momentum bullish, still slightly lower high structure, still holding that zone, the highly traded zone there around kind of 598 or so in here. Still slightly lower high though. Really want to see that push if it's going to do it. The momentum did step slightly to bullish, still below on the RSI. Still kind of looks like a topping pattern for me, kind of left shoulder head, right shoulder forming. If we get this sell through next week, that's going to be pretty terrible. 55 EMA would be your support at 584. Moving over to the Tasty charts, that lower trailing stop now at 607.50 or so on the Q's chart. So again, 4-hour step down there to that second ATR band, lower step on that trailing stop. Held that zone, could not get above the trailing stop, so we're still in bearish conditions here. But looking at that hourly, same as the SPY charts, hit the lower band here, rallied up, cut through that trailing stop at 599, closed well above it, all the way up at 604 or so. Trailing stop here on the bullish side on the hourly chart, 598. If we can hold that level, continue to stay bullish, but this is definitely consolidation. Bearish to bullish to bearish to bullish. And moving over here to the Russell actually was negative 0.67 on the day, gap down, got close to the support level, ended up dojing. It's up a smidgen after hours. Interesting to see the divergence between those two. The Russell going a little lower, the NASDAQ held up okay. I think this is, again, being weighed on by those kind of regional banks, which are going to weigh heavier on this one. But interesting to see that. Usually this is not a good indicator. Want to see the risk on play going higher. Dow held up okay, similar to the SPY and the NASDAQ. Moving over to the Mag 7, bullish here, up almost a percentage, up a little bit more after hours. Really all I want to highlight is that this 55 EMA continues to get closer. Tested it here on the 14th, bounced from that area again today. Momentum swinging to bullish, RSI right at the SMA. This is the danger zone, right? If this cuts, then you're looking for a bigger swing down. As long as it holds, you're still in bullish conditions. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft. Apple was up almost 2% right to that 21 EMA, touched that level and then kind of sold a little bit. If this kind of comes up and retests this trend line and rejects from there, that's going to be concerning. But if we can cut through this area, get to the 260, then you're looking at all-time highs. Then Apple is absolutely back to a buy here. Right now, I would call this kind of neutral, right? You're looking at a potential flip to bearish because you broke down here, could get the retest, continuation lower. But if you get the break above this zone, that should be a nice catalyst for more bullishness. And then looking at Microsoft here, Microsoft came into the same zone, 506.71 continues to be support, came into that area, found support. Waiting to see what happens. Is this at this point, you have to assume that this is going to be kind of consolidation. I thought maybe we'd get the high, lower high here and the low, maybe lower low from this kind of sell here, but it seems like we're just going to consolidate. We're already consolidated on the EMAs and SMAs. It's not giving a sell here, so you have to assume this is sideways choppy in my opinion. Moving over to NVIDIA and Tesla here, you got Tesla up 2.46%, NVIDIA up almost 1%. Tesla looks like quite a bit more bullish here. We've been talking about it, how it kind of just been drifting to the upside. It's right at the highs here. This looks like it's kind of set to move here towards these highs. I like the way that it looks. Want to see it get above the SMA on a closing basis on the RSI. If we could do that, that's really going to look a lot more bullish. I really like this setup here. I'm going to be watching for Tesla over the next week. And then you got NVIDIA here pushing back towards that level. 180 continues to be support over the last 4 days, and that has remained true. Touched that level again today and then rallied back up to 183.97. If it can get above 184, then we should be looking for another bullish continuation. 55 EMA also support there at 179.47. Moving over to Alphabet and Meta. Alphabet did everything we thought it would do, came down, tagged the level, bounced from that level, flipped bullish. Momentum swinging to bullish, RSI swinging to bullish. Put an alert here, want to see what Alphabet does on the Monday, Tuesday. Think this is going to flip pretty bullish here. Meta, on the other hand, still in the same consolidation, no changes there. Moving over to staples and discretionaries here, you got staples up a lot, 1.3% continues to run here. We talked about it. Got a bit of a head fake yesterday, held the levels and then rallied out. Momentum back to bullish, RSI back to bullish. Still think this is going to go towards the 81.18 to 81.85 area. Continues to look really, really strong there. And then discretionaries still consolidating, still below the level. Still think this is probably going to sell ultimately. Moving over to breadth, 20 and 50-day breadth did improve here. You can see that nice little bounce here, kind of a higher low setup potentially, definitely on the RSI, holding in there a little bit better. It almost looks like markets could flip to a little bit more bullish next week based on this structural hold on 50-day breadth. Had the big sell yesterday, got no confirmation on that today. So looking a little bit more bullish here. We'll watch this early next week. Should give us a little bit more information Monday, Tuesday. And then I would suspect whatever happens those days is what we're going to get the follow through on the rest of the week. Moving over to the dollar finally found a base here, ended up rallying to that 55 EMA and then breaking above it for the close. So touched that zone that we were talking about that it really needed to hold, 21 EMA, 55 EMA, touched that zone and then rallied out. So dollar should be giving us a higher low structure here, looking for a pretty big push on it tomorrow, which could signal a little bit of weakness in equities, something to consider there. But the dollar, nice bounce, hopefully get some follow through on that next week. Moving over to bonds. Bonds looked okay on the day. J&K was up about a quarter. Sold yesterday. Did not get the confirmation on that. So again, a little bit more bullish here today. Holding the structure, maybe higher low setup. Maybe we get a little bit more rally here back to 97.69. Maybe this is just a short-term kind of pullback where we start to consolidate sideways here maybe. And then looking at TLT, down 0.15, nothing crazy, still right in the same structure. Should get a nice push on that next week. That's what I'm hoping for. Momentum bullish here, RSI bullish here, looking for a push to that level 92.82. Moving over to the VIX here, you can see the VIX went right to that level and immediately sold off. High of day was 28.99, hit that level 28.89, then immediately sold off from that peak level. So in the short term, this might be done. We start to see this come back down into this area here, allow equities to kind of consolidate in here. Still expecting this to kind of higher low setup and eventually spike again. Looking for something like this, right, where we come in, hit that level, sideways consolidate, hit that level again, and then usually somewhere in there you will get a big spike, something like that here. So you get a kind of a rally up, consolidate, big spike in here, something like that. That's the ultimate end state, in my opinion. That's what I am looking for. So don't think we're quite done yet, but it did do exactly what we thought that it would. Moving over to my accounts, I did not do a whole lot of anything here. All I did was roll down these covered calls on the IWM to 244 for 4 days from now. So that's Tuesday next week, $2 credit. And that was pretty much the right price. Rolled down right to it. Didn't roll down too aggressively, didn't get whipsawed on it. But if we get a nice little rally, $2 rally, sell price would be 246, and then we can start to look to go to the other side on it. Either way, looking for a little bit of bullishness on the Russell still. And then for the Qs, no changes there, still that 600 strike for $11 credit. Still profitable on the call, profitable on the movement on the shares today, so that's good across the board. And then TLT down 16 cents, basically right back to my buy price. Want to see that continue to go higher next week, and then the dollar, basically no changes there either. Overall, still bullish on equities, but still playing a little bit of defense here. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of the government shutdown. Are we going to get it resolved ever? Is this going to last forever? Does it really matter if we don't have a government? Let me know. Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.